The fringe is honestly the bane of my life when I'm doing these videos. I have to make sure it's in the right position, and it's not right now. Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today what I want to do, I basically want to talk about my newfound favourite passion, which is reading. Bear in mind, I used to resent reading. Like when I was a child, we used to go and do the book trail, is that what it's called, at the library. I used to go with my best friend Megan. She used to get chapter books, I used to get picture books. Only because I wanted to get Swan Lake on DVD, you know. So I read more, because obviously picture books, quick, done. Since starting work, a friend from work created a book club and we started it, I think, January last year. And it's been so great because we have a new book about once a month and I've been very good actually. I mean, I did go through a bit of a slacking phase, and anyone from work will say they did nearly implement a £5 fine if you didn't read the book because of Hannah, because I never read the book. But I did, I read about, I think for last year we had about 10, 11, so it wasn't quite one per month. And I think I read about 8, which isn't bad. Bear in mind I told you I read picture books, so I think that's quite good. Anyway, what I wanted to do in this video is I've picked out 11 books that I have recently read. So obviously they're not all the books I've read in my whole entire life, but they're the ones that I read most recently and I actually remember. So I've done 11 to 1, obviously. 11 being my least favourite and 1 obviously being my most favourite. Just something to note as well. If the book is like lower down on the scale, and especially if the book is like number 11, it doesn't mean they're bad books in the slightest. Like they're not, they're all really good books. It just means that from my list of books, it was my least favourite book. And I'll give like a little bit of explanation as to why it was rated lower for me. Also, some of these books are the book club books, and I have like given my opinions to the girls before, but I hope I don't offend anyone. I won't try to. Also, I am going to review the new book club book, girls, and I'll put a little, I'll let you know when it's coming, so if anyone hasn't read it, you can quickly fast forward. So again, like my last video, I've come prepared. I've written down all my notes again. Getting like a real YouTuber now. What we will do is we will start with my least favourite, not least favourite, but the lowest one, so number 11 from my list. In 11th place, we have The Mars Room by Rachel Kushner. It looks gorgeous though, doesn't it? This was actually one of our book club books that we have all reviewed actually now, so that's fine. Everyone, if you're in book club, you can carry on watching this bit. When we first found this book, when this was given to us, we were like, oh my god, this looks amazing. Like, doesn't it look gorgeous? Like the pink back tone, like, looks so nice. And we were like, it will look so good on your coffee table even if it's a crap book. So win-win really. So basically I'll give you a little bit of a plot synopsis on each book and then I'll like tell you what I thought about it. Mars Room. The Mars Room is actually a strip club and the book follows the character of Romy. Now it was a strange book because it kind of like jumps back and forward. So the book begins with Romy going to prison because she's murdered this man. You find out you find out quite early on that the man is her stalker from the Mars Room. So he used to come to the strip club all the time and then he's like her stalker basically. Romy has a like young son, I think he's about 7, maybe a little bit younger. And yeah, so the book keeps like going back and forth and it kind of like is an unfolding mystery on like why she's murdered him, and that's essentially the book. The reason I didn't like this book, it had no story. There was literally nothing to it, I don't think. Like, you're reading and you're finding out a little bit more information, but it doesn't come to anything. Like I never read it and I never got to the end and was like, like I had so many unanswered questions. Poey!
Oh.
Go away.
What are you filming?
My book one.
Oh.
This your kind of thing for your channel?
No.
Get out. I've got to go to the dump. So yeah, as I was saying before I got rudely interrupted, the book doesn't really have a plot. I don't think at all. Like you come to the end and like I said, had so many unanswered questions. The ending is awful as well. Like I literally was reading it like, are you joking? Like where's this going? Like there's nowhere for it to go. So for me, unfortunately, this placed last in my recommendations. It's an alright book. It's just not for me. But if you want something to look pretty on your coffee table, actually I shouldn't say that because that's really nasty. Rachel's spent a lot of time writing this. I've just said buy it to put on your coffee table. No, I'm joking. It's an alright book, but it's the least favourite out of my 11 picks here. Number 10 then. This was another book club book. Now this was very controversial in our book club. There was some love, but a lot of hate for this book. Not hate necessarily, but confusion, and I'll explain a little bit why. So this is the book, The Water Cure. It's by Sophie Mackintosh. I think this has got quite a lot of good reviews, you know. So it was quite promising. Like, I think that's how we pick a lot of our book club books, like just looking at reviews and stuff. So this had quite a lot of reviews, some good, some bad. The basic plot synopsis of this is there are 3 young girls whose parents, so their mum and dad, they live on like this secluded island, and they kind of like keep them away from civilization, like everyday life. Basically have like convinced the girls that men are really dangerous and that their dad is like the only okay man ever in the planet. It's just a very strange thing. They kind of live this like really weird life. Like they walk around like bare feet, like they don't like obviously interact with any humans, they just interact within themselves, and they kind of like, I don't know, have this weird thing. And I think one of them is pregnant and has a baby, and it obviously must be the dad's. Like the dad must have like had sex with the daughter because there's no other men. It's just a very weird story. Basically the dad goes back to the mainland, like he has to go every now and then to collect like supplies, and as he's gone, 3 men wash up, like shipwreck onto the island where these guys are living. And it kind of follows the story of like what happens next, and how the girls like deal with these men being there, and like how the mum, like it's literally just girls versus boys. I think it's quite a good story, you know, and I really liked the ending. Like it was one of those books that you're reading and you're a bit like, this is strange, but I want to know what happened. So it is a good page turner, and I did quite like it. It's just number 10 on my list because I preferred the other books. It has got a good synopsis, to be fair, a good like little plot, and it does make you think like, that's such a weird story. Like I don't know how she came up with it, but yeah, it is good. And obviously you find out what the water cure is like within the story, and how like it used to be like a little sanctuary place for troubled women to come to the island, and the mum and dad would kind of like try and help them get back to like their normal old selves and turn against men. It's a really strange book, but I did really like that. Number 9 then. I don't have an actual copy of this because it's on my Kindle. I got my Kindle in the Black Friday sale last year for about £50, and honestly the best £50 I've spent in a long time. I love my Kindle. It's just so easy to read books and stuff, so I really recommend getting one if you don't have one. Although it is nice just like having a book, isn't it? But it's just easy to read at night when you can put the little light on and just read. So yeah, just a little side note there, just saying while I read on. So yeah, number 9 is Found. Oh, I should have written down who they're by actually, shouldn't I? Hang on, let me go and get my Kindle. Right, I'm back, and I've just had a little biscuit, so hopefully my belly will stop rumbling. Kindle, favourite thing ever. I got the white one and I love it. It's so cute. So number 9 was called Found, and it's by an author called Erin Kingsley. This book is a different kind of like genre to the other ones. It's basically about, like, as you can kind of get from the name of the book, it's about a little boy who gets abducted, but then he gets found about 9 months later, and it's kind of like his journey like back into like self and stuff like that, and how they like found out who abducted him and like how they found him. So it's quite a good book because it's not all about the found element of things, it's also about the process of finding him, which I think is quite nice. Like I love like programs like that about like interesting documentaries and stuff about like abductions and like how they like piece everything together. Like, I think that's really interesting. Really good book if you like that kind of thing. It was quite a bit depressing, I'm not gonna lie. Obviously it would be, it's about a child going missing. But I don't know, compared to some of my other books, it was a bit weird. Yeah, basically the boy goes missing, they find him. Yeah, that's basically it. They find him, but it's a bigger story to that. The only reason I put it as number 9 is I don't really like the ending. I thought there was lots of unanswered questions still at the end, which I think they did on purpose, but for me, like as a reader, I didn't like it. For me, number 9 in my list, but a good book anyway, and I really like her style of writing, so Erin Kingsley is someone to definitely look into. Number 8 then is another book club pick. This one is called The Poppy Field, and this is by an author called Deborah Carr. This one is a different kind of read for me. Like I've never read a book about World War II before, but the girl who picked this at work loves this kind of genre. Like she always says like, this is my favourite genre, and everyone was a bit like skeptical about reading it, but I have to say I loved it. I did really like it. She's probably going to be confused why I put it as number 8, but it's just because the other ones I preferred them, the ones higher. But yeah, so basically the Poppyfield plot is about this nurse who's working in France, like on the front line sort of thing, and she sorry, my sisters are fighting, excuse me. It's about this nurse who's working on the front line in France during the World War II, and she basically meets this soldier, this injured soldier, and they like immediately kind of like hit it off sort of thing, and then they go through like this undercover secret love to kind of like meet each other, because it's not allowed patient, obviously, a nurse. And yeah, I don't really want to ruin it, because I feel like if I say any more I'd ruin it, but it's a really good story, and I feel like I'm quite good at predicting like books and films and things that I know what's going to happen next, and I did kind of predict what was going to happen, which is a shame. But I mean, if anybody says like World War II tragic love, like you can kind of tell what's going to happen. It's a good story, and I really enjoyed reading it. I thought it was really nice, and it's a different kind of genre for me. Like, I've never read something like that before. I liked her style of writing as well, Deborah Carr. So basically what she did is she had it, obviously the war was based in I don't know, I'm trying to, maybe I'm saying, oh, it wasn't World War II, no, it was World War One, because it was based in 1918, I think, and then there was like a present day, 2018, and I loved that contrast. I thought that worked really nicely, because it gave it a really modern like twist. It was 1918, that was it, and basically the poppy field is present in both of these, both of the eras, and like I really like that they're like connected, but they're literally 100 years apart. So that's that's why I really liked it. Oh, how did I think that was World War II? What an idiot. It was definitely World War One. Definitely. I mean, if I'm wrong, someone correct me, but I think it's World War One. Number 7 then is actually 3 books. I've just put them all under one because I would rate them all number 7 basically. They're not a trilogy, so I don't want to call them a trilogy, but then they're not like linked. I don't really know how to say it. They're called Sorry Not Sorry, It's Not You, It's Me, and No We Can't Be Friends, and they're all by Sophie Randall. Now, she's got a lot of good reviews online. Like, I found a lot about her. Her style of writing is very kind of like young, like 20s style, like going through like living in a flat, like flat sharing, like not first loves, but like different loves, work and stuff like that. So for me, like very relatable. Like, I really enjoy her style of writing, and it's just a bit more fun. Like, it's different, and I really like that. The reason I put these all 3 together is basically they're 3 separate books, but all of the characters in the books are the same, but they don't necessarily link directly. So I'll try and explain it a little bit better. Sorry Not Sorry is the first one I read, and this is basically, Sorry Not Sorry is a podcast. Like, within the book, it's a podcast, and it's about this girl, this character Charlotte, who is going through like this weird time. Like, she never dates, and she wants to get a bit more into it. So she starts listening to this podcast called Sorry Not Sorry, and the lady who does this podcast is called Sloane, and she is American but living in London, married to an English man. Essentially, Charlotte is having an affair with Sloane's husband, but Charlotte doesn't know that he's married, and it's very weird, and obviously Sloane doesn't know. Charlotte gets a new housemate called Tansy, and Tansy starts dating her friend from work, Renzo, and then it all gets very complicated. And then essentially it's about Charlotte like finding her way, and like how she wants to like start dating again, and how she can like listen to this podcast, and she like turns miles away because she's like, no, this is wrong, and she wants to do the right thing, and she wants to like tell Sloane about it, and make sure that Sloane's not going through this like horrible like period alone, like unknowingly. So she goes and tells her, and yeah, they have like a really brief interaction. But yeah, it's a really good book. I really enjoyed that one. So I got the other 2. So It's Not You, It's Me follows the storyline of Tansy. So I said Tansy started dating a guy called Renzo, and Renzo works with Charlotte. So this story is just about like their relationship. This book is more isolated, to be fair. Like, it links to Sorry Not Sorry, but it doesn't link really to the last book that I read from this like trilogy. But yeah, no, I really liked that one. It's a similar sort of thing. Obviously she's not having an affair, Tansy, but she is going through like this strong, empowered woman. Like, she needs to like be herself, and like it's kind of like helps you it kind of like guides you on what you should be looking for in a guy, versus like what you think you might be looking for. And I like that as well. Like, it's quite eye-opening. Right, the last one I read from that trilogy then is No We Can't Be Friends. This one was a really good one, actually. This one follows Sloane's journey. It starts with her and Miles. the guy that Charlotte was dating, the married guy, they're like trying for a baby, like they've just bought this beautiful house, they're like doing it up, and then she finds out that he's cheated on her. So she doesn't find out until like a little bit into the book, and then it's kind of like her journey on self-discovery and like what she does next. So they're all very like female empowered books and like strong independent women, and I love that. Like that vibe is so good. Like I just really like reading about that. I really like about her books as well, they like all of them have like a really happy ending in the end, which is really good. Like it's just a really like positive book, and I feel really happy like after finishing them. It's kind of like love yourself, and then when it's right and when you find the right person who fits into what you're actually needed and suited for, then like everything will happen, and it's like happy love, and it's just such a like good uplifting book. So I really recommend her writing. Very, very good. Number 6 then, this is actually the current book club book. So book club girls, get out of here now. You have been warned. This one is Blood Orange, and this is by an author called Harriet Tice. I've been seeing this everywhere recently, like everyone's been reading this, and when I go on Instagram I see like loads of people posting that they're out in the sun sunbathing with their books, and it's this book, very popular. So synopsis of this book then, basically it's about a character called Alison and her husband Carl, and they've got a 6-year-old daughter called Matilda. Now Alison is a barrister, a barrister, I think, or she could potentially be a solicitor, I'm not too sure, don't quote me on it, but she's something within law. And her solicitor, again, don't quote me on it, is a guy called Patrick, who's made out to be like this Lothario, like really like cool, like ladies man. And basically these two, Alison and Carl, are like having, Alison and Patrick are having like an affair, and it's been going on for a year because she's having such a hard, horrible life kind of with Carl at home, and the only reason they're really still together, it's made out, is because of the child. It did make me furious like reading this book, like the way that he talks to her and the way that he like treats her, like I hate it. But then I see it like from both sides. Obviously she was made out to be like this drunken character, which obviously if you were like a dad of a 6-year-old kid, you wouldn't want that being around. So it's like a very conflicting book, and you never know who like the good or the bad guy is. It kind of took a like twist though at the end. Like I couldn't sleep one night, and it's at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was like, right, I'm just gonna read my book. Like it was soothe me, send me to sleep. And I picked it up and I started reading, and like 2 massive plot twists happened, and I was like, right, like that is honestly gonna keep me up and gonna keep my head spinning for ages now. Like it was mad. Like it is good like plot twists and things like that. I should actually mention Patrick and Alison like kind of get put together because they're working on a murder case, and I thought the murder would have a more like prominent role in the book, but it actually I think was a bit not redundant. I mean, it added a little bit more. It gave those two like meaning to actually be together a lot more, but it didn't really have like a massive impact. I thought it was going to be bigger. But, like again, if you read it, I think you'll pick up on that. But yeah, it was just something else to add into it. Like it kind of took you away from the main storyline because maybe you thought something was going to come from that, but I don't know. I thought it was really nice, really good. Okay, number 5 then is my book club choice. Well, I say mine, but my friend Harry at work kind of chose it for me, so thanks, Haz. This one was called The Couple Next Door, and it's by Shari Lapena. I'll actually just say Harry has admitted that he doesn't read many books, but the ones he has read, a lot of them are by Shari Lapena, and he says she's a brilliant writer, so and has recommended reading her other books, so I might give them a little go. So that's just something, bit of food for thought there. The Couple Next Door then is essentially about a couple called Anne and Marco, and they have a really, really tiny baby, like only a few months old, called Cora, and they leave Cora at home and go for a dinner party in the house with the couple next door. This is where I got confused as well, because I didn't know what Couple Next Door they were talking about, and I think that's a really good name for the book because it confuses you. Are they talking about Anne and Marco with the baby, or are they talking about this couple next door? I don't know. Well, I know now, but I didn't know all the way through, and I thought that was a really good like food for thought sort of thing. Like you just don't know. Anyway, they go for dinner at the couple next door's house, and then every half an hour either Anne or Marco goes and checks on the baby, and then when they arrive home they find that the baby has been abducted, or so-called abducted. It looked like it's been abducted, and it's about this like massive like mystery and like journey into finding out what happened and like essentially trying to like track down the baby. The book kind of gave me a little bit like, it's quite nasty to say, but like Madeleine McCann vibes, because obviously like going back and checking on the child every half an hour, like supposedly Jerry and Kate did that, and then also like the parents being the center of accusation, and like it was similar in that case as well, which is really interesting. And the blame kind of like shifts between all the characters in the book, so you never kind of know who it actually is until the end. Like I said, I do feel like I'm quite good at predicting things, and I did kind of predict the ending of this, but it took me a long while to actually get the prediction. Like I didn't know it straight from reading the first page, so that was quite good for me. Like I liked that. Also, what I quite liked is the motivation behind what actually happened is kind of realistic. Like it's not relatable at all, but it's like it is really, like it could happen, and I quite like that. Like it's not like a crazy, like stupid plot. It actually could happen, and I quite like that. Like it's believable. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, like I really liked that. I really liked her style of writing. I think what she did is she kind of like did each chapter on like one of the parents, so you could kind of like get their understanding and their opinions of what's happening in the situation. So I really, really liked that. Okay, number 4 then is a book that I feel like everybody was talking about, especially at the end of last year. This is Gonna Hurt, The Diaries of a Junior Doctor by Adam Kay. Such a good book. Like honestly, I couldn't put this one down. Like it was so good, and it was so eye-opening as well. Like it was mental. So basically you can kind of tell what the book's going to be about from the title. It was a diary from a junior doctor, Adam Kay, documenting like nearly every day of like his experience being a junior doctor, and like his way of working up to become a doctor. I don't know if that's the final thing. I don't really know. Sorry for my ignorance there. It's basically like his journey on how it's like his accounts of what it's like working in hospitals and like what he sees on a day-to-day basis and things like that. What I love about this book is it's so personal. Like he talks about his like home life, his like relationships, and how being a junior doctor like stuff really affects it and makes it harder to like have a normal life. It's mad as well. Like in this book you can literally be reading a page, be like hysterically laughing like at a situation you've seen or like something like that, and then the next page you're like crying, like hysterically crying, because it's just so awful some of the things they have to see, and then they go home and have to pretend like it kind of never happens and then come back the next day. Like it's just mental. And you think about like your own job and you're like, oh my god, like it's nothing compared to like that, is it? Especially in like the current situation, like in coronavirus, it kind of like opens your eyes to the NHS and like everything they're doing. And if the book isn't even set around like a global pandemic and they're going through such stressful times, it really makes you think like, oh my god, like what these people are going through. I really liked that, and it was like really like insightful into their kind of everyday lives. So yeah, definitely worth a read. And I think like the fact that he was so personal and honest as well, really like that. Very good. Number 3 then, this is another book that I think like loads and loads of people have been talking about. This is Sally Rooney's Normal People. I actually watched the BBC programme before I read the book. I quite like doing that way, because then I have like an actual visual representation of the character. And also like in this instance, when you're watching it, I don't know if anyone's seen it, but when you're watching it, like I like fell in love with the characters, especially like Connell. And like, so when I started reading it, I was like, I know I'm gonna like love this character. So it's just interesting to see like on paper what like his thoughts and his feelings were, because obviously you can express it better in a book than you can in a TV program, which I really like. So basically Normal People is about these 2 people, Connell and Marianne, and it starts them being like kids at secondary school, and they live in Ireland. Marianne is like this massive like introvert. She comes across slightly strange in the program and in the book. Like she's very quiet. She likes to keep herself to herself and not like get involved with anyone else. And then Connell's like the big football star, like the most popular boy at school sort of thing, like very attractive. So like these 2 being friends, and like especially like being friends, like let alone lovers, is like the weirdest thing ever. Basically these 2 kind of like have a secret relationship, and it's all just very weird. Like they're not normal people, which is weird, but then they kind of want to be normal people, and I think that's why it's called Normal People. It's very complicated, and it's quite infuriating to watch really and read. The book and the TV program basically follow their journey from school to college, like each year of college, like all 3 years, 4 years they do actually, and then it kind of like ends with their like them leaving university basically. So it like follows their whole journey, and it kind of like goes in spins of roundabouts really, like on who's on top. So when they get to university, Marianne's like more popular than Connell, and they're just quite annoying people actually, because they just can't seem to be together, and it's so infuriating when they're like clearly meant to be with each other. But I don't know. I love this book as well because the ending of it, I feel like a lot of people hated, but I actually quite liked. I don't really want to give it away, but it kind of like ended with them going into a new chapter of their lives, but onto a separate one, when you would have thought after all this time they would finally be able to get together, but they don't. They don't really explain it that well in the TV programme, to be honest, but in the book they talk more about the fact that they've learnt like everything they can get from each other, and that they've moved on, like they're ready to like move on and be normal people in society because they've like helped each other develop as people. I quite like that. I think that's nice. Obviously you want them to be together, but maybe they will, maybe they won't. You just kind of have to like leave it hanging there, don't you, and think in your head like, I hope they do. I really like her style of writing, and I like that she like jumps forward loads. She doesn't like dwell on loads of detail, and I like that as well. Like it's not right, Marianne's wearing this outfit and it's like a silk blouse and all this, like it's just like she's got an outfit on, right, let's go on to the main bit, what's happening really, like, and I like that. It kind of like goes, it doesn't like, yeah, doesn't hang around, it like jumps straight to it, and that's good. Number 2 then, penultimate choice. This book is Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. Now I love her podcast with Pandora Sykes, The High Low. Like I love their content on that. I just think it's so funny and so relatable, and it's just brilliant. So when I saw she had a book out, I was like, need to get this, need to read this. And especially that it's not really like a book, a fictional book, it's about her life. And I like that, like they talk so openly and honestly on their podcast, like actually having something to read about that, perfect for me. So this book, like I said, is like about her life, and she's actually crossed out on the front like parties, dates, friends, jobs, life. And the book basically touches on all of these aspects. It's just really, really cool, and it's like actually quite nice to like learn about her life, but in a weird like autobiography kind of way. I love as well the fact that when she talks about love, you immediately look at this and think she's talking about like dating all the time, but like it's not. So the different aspects of love that I got from the book anyway, she talks about like how when she was younger she had an eating disorder and things like that, and how she really like struggled like after a heartbreak, like dealing with loving herself. And then she like gets into this whole big thing about like how she started to like love herself more, and how her friends were so great and stuff like that. So there's aspects of like self-love in there, but then there's also like a massive bit about, but essentially the whole book is about her love for her friends, and especially her best friend, Farley. And I think she even ends it being like, Farley is my like true love. The end of it says, and finally, thank you to Farley, without whose unwavering cheering and championing I would not have written this book. You always will be my favourite love story. See, I just love that. Like there is a lot about dates in it, and about how she like finds these men who she thinks are perfect, but then at the end of the day her real love is her best friend. And I love that, and I think that's so honest and real and so relatable as well, because not enough people talk about that, do they? Like everyone's kind of like searching for this love with like this perfect like partner, like either like whoever it is, like man, woman, whatever, but like you don't think about your friend's love. So I don't know, I really, really liked that, and I thought it was really great. I saw she's got a new book coming out actually next year, so I can't, oh no, in October I think, so I can't bloody wait to get her hands on that, because that'll be very good. So this is why it comes number 2 in my list. Okay, the time has come. We're on to my favourite book of the moment. This book then, I'll give like a slight backstory on how I found this book. I just finished reading Sorry Not Sorry, the podcast book that I mentioned is number 7. I needed to download another book for the plane ride home from Costa Rica. I saw this book and I just immediately loved the title, and I thought, you know what, it'll be quite similar, but like self-love and all of that kind of stuff, so I'm gonna buy it. I didn't read it until literally like last week. I don't know why, I just got kind of like distracted. When I actually started reading it, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like, it was so good. I basically pick books, I never read the blurb or the synopsis, like I don't know why, but I kind of like to be like surprised. So I normally just go off the title, and the title, The Man Who Didn't Call, just really like stood out to me, like, oh, this might be an interesting story. I didn't think it was actually gonna be as dramatic as it was, but I liked it even more being dramatic. My number 1 choice then is, like I said, The Man Who Didn't Call. The author is Rosie Walsh. I've never heard of Rosie Walsh before actually, and I've not actually heard of this book before, which is surprising because it's such a good book, honestly. I was getting excited talking about it. So basically, as you can kind of guess from the title of the book, it's about a guy who didn't call this girl. So the book is basically about this character called Sarah, and she's 37. So I already like that because I think you read so many books, and all the other books I think in my list are all about like younger couples and things like that, and they never kind of talk about like the couples that are like a little bit older, maybe going through divorce or things like that, and then they fall in love again. And I really like that it was different. Like I haven't really read anything like that. So it's about Sarah, who's 37, and she is English, but she has lived in America for the last 17 years because of this major like secret that nobody really knows about, and they don't tell you at the beginning. It's an unfolding story. And when she's in England, there's a specific day, like it's got a special sentimental meaning. She meets this guy. Can't work out why they're both at the same place on the same day. Obviously you find out a little bit later why. So she meets this guy. So Sarah meets a guy called Eddie David, and they immediately click, and then they spend 7 days just together constantly, and they literally are just with each other. Then at the end of the 7 days, they know Eddie's going on holiday, but they're going to keep in contact. Sarah needs to go back to LA, but they like plan to meet up again afterwards, and they like profess their like undying love for each other. Basically it's very soppy, very cute. Then basically he never calls, and it gets into this like big mystery as to like why like he's not ringing, why they've said they're in love with each other and they want to spend the rest of their lives together, but then he doesn't call. And it basically is like this mystery as to why. And Sarah, basically the book is mainly about Sarah, and she goes on this big journey to try and like track him down. So she like starts with like looking at his Facebook page. Again, I love that, quite relatable, quite modern. And then she finds his friends, tries to talk to them, and then there's like this bam, like massive plot twist. And it is honestly, when I read it I was like, hang on, what? It was just mental. I mean, it was just, okay, I'm making it out to be crazy, but I thought it was absolutely brilliant, like really, really great. Like I had no idea it was coming. I don't know, I just love it. I really, really love her style of writing. I think that she's a brilliant writer, and I think that the way she like unveils tiny bits of detail one bit at a time is so great. And I think, and it really like captivates you as a reader. You want to read more because you're like, hang on, what's happening now? Like when's this next bit going to be like unfolded? Like it's just so good. So really honestly recommend that book, and I'm really surprised it's not been raved about more because it was so good. Like I loved it. My perfect genre, if I had to label it, would be romance, mystery. Like I love the like soppy stuff. Like I think that's nice, and I think like Normal People was quite soppy and like romantic, but there wasn't any mystery in it. But for me, like a little bit of mystery, a little bit of like unknown is so fun. Like when they like unveil something, I'm like, oh my god, like you never thought of that. So yeah, I like that. A bit of drama. It's all the drama, Mick. I thought I'd just put at the end of the video then what I'm currently reading. My mum and sister read The Silent Patient, and I'll just find who that's by. Oh, he's got a really hard surname to pronounce. Sorry, my Kindle's updating. I can't even bloody tell you. The Silent Patient, if you Google it, like you'll find it immediately. I'm like a third through it, and I'm really, really enjoying it. It's really, really good. So far I recommend reading that. That's on, I think, loads of like the top 10 reading lists at the moment, so definitely one to have a look at. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that 11 book kind of recommendation. Like I said, none of them are bad books in the slightest. Like they're all really, really good, but just out of my rankings, that's how they went. And yes, my favourite one being The Man Who Didn't Call. Like if you want a bit of a love but like crazy like turn, also with some mystery and like some family dramas, then that is your book, because that is so good, honestly. And I can't wait to find something similar to that. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope you got some inspiration if you needed it. So yeah, happy reading everyone.